In this video, we're going to be taking a look at building this folding two-tier display for our tabletop. Now, this is one project that I really think you probably would benefit from having the plans for. This project, while it looks to be a fairly simple project, there's actually a lot of pieces and parts to this. There's a lot of angles to consider. Just a ton of dimensions you're going to need to get it laid all out. And so I'm not going to focus a great deal in the video on making sure that I give you every single dimension. Could you do it without a set of plans? I suppose you could. But like I said, there's a lot of information in the plans. And I just think for $5, you're better off having this set of plans in front of you. And the other thing you get with all of our plans is you'll get the 3D model in the SketchUp format. Now, for those of you who don't know about SketchUp, definitely take a look at our SketchUp videos. SketchUp is a free program. It's a web-based program. You can load our 3D file into that program and really be able to visually see the completed project before you begin. You can take dimensions, get a better idea of how all these things go together. I just personally, I feel like it's really worth having. So at any rate, we give you all the information, but there's just so much information in here that I just feel like for the $5, it's worth having a set of plans. So with that said, I am going to go ahead and cut up some parts. This is the layout for all of the parts that we're going to need. We're going to need 9 fence pickets for this project. And what I'm going to recommend that we do is we're going to cut all of our parts to length, and then we'll rip all of our parts to the appropriate width. Okay, because we have a lot of different widths. We have 2.5, 3.5, 4 inches. We have some full width pickets that are 5.5. We have some that are 2 7/8. So there's all kinds of different dimensions here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and cut all of our parts to length, and then we'll come back in and we'll rip it to the width. We'll add all of our miters and things and bevels and all of that stuff after it's all cut to length, okay? So I'm going to do all that off camera, and then when I get all my parts cut up, I'll come back to you and we'll kind of talk a little bit about what we actually got going on here. So it's going to take 9 fence pickets. We're going to be using 5/8 of inch fence pickets for this one, and so those cost about $2.20, and we're going to need 9 of them. So all told, this is going to take about $20, $25 in material. So in order to make this profitable, this is a project that's really not that profitable if you're looking to sell, because there's a certain dollar amount that you're going to try to get out of this project. And because of the amount of work involved and so forth, it's not a super high profit item, but it is an item that will look really good on your displays. And sometimes just having the a good looking item displaying some product will be enough to draw somebody over to buy something that is a high profit item. This one is not going to be that project for you. So as I said, it's about a $20, $25 project. In my opinion, top dollar on this is about $60. So again, considering how much time it's going to take to build and cut all these parts, not a massive profit maker here, in my opinion, because it's definitely probably going to take us probably a good couple of hours to put this together. So anyhow, I'm going to cut up the parts and we'll get going on it. When I'm building these, I like to start with the boxes and get those out of the way. So what I've done is I've cut up my parts for my boxes. And in fact, if we look at the materials list, you can see we've kind of divided. This is for the frame, this is for the boxes. So I've taken my materials list, and you can see I cut them and kind of check them off as I go. So I don't have these parts cut at all yet, just my parts for my boxes. Okay, and I kind of use this layout diagram, gives me all the pertinent dimensions. So my upper box is designed to be able to sit inside of the lower box if we want to fold this up as flat as possible. So it's slightly less wide than the bigger box that's on the bottom. So what we have here is two pieces that are 16 inches by 2 7/8. And then this piece here is 15 1/4, again by 2 7/8. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and put this together. We are gonna use, I'm using Titebond, what is this, Titebond 2. And then I'm going to be using my Ryobi cordless narrow crown stapler. Now if you don't have the narrow crown stapler, you could use the brad nail and brad nail it all together. Okay, but the wood glue is going to do the bulk of, give you the bulk of the strength. Okay, so again, I'm using my stapler. I'm using 1 1/4 staples on this to put this together. So I'll go ahead and do that quick, and then we'll come back and move on to the next step. Pretty straightforward. Just put those together. We've just used some wood glue and a couple of staples. You could use 3 staples. I probably will go ahead and put 1 more in at each corner. Now we're going to take, for the bottom of our board here, we're going to take these are 16 1/2 inches. They were cut to 4 inches long, so I guess they go this way. They were cut to 4 inches wide, rather, not long. So 16 1/2 inches long, and it will take 4 of them. Okay, because front to back is a total of 16 inches. So we'll go ahead and use a little bit of wood glue, and again, we'll use 3 staples per board to put them on. And we'll even do a couple along the edge here too as well. So there you go. There is our completed box for the top of our unit. Now I'm going to go ahead and let this dry overnight before I go about sanding. I'll ease over all the edges just a little bit and give it a good little sand. So now what we're going to do is we're going to build our bigger box the exact same way. So for our bigger box, as you can see, we have some 24-inch pieces that are 2 7/8, and then these are 16 3/4. Okay, and then we have our bottom boards, which are 4 7/8. Now we may have to trim one board just a little bit smaller at the end to make it work for this 24-inch dimension. So one board technically should be 14 1/2. But what we're going to do is we're going to go, I say one board, but no, we need, I only have 4. We need 5 boards. So, but that middle board should be 14 1/2. So I've got my 4 boards here that are 4 7/8, and then they're 16 3/4 long, and then I'll have to cut one more board that I think is 4 1/2. But we'll get these applied, and then we'll double check our dimensions. So we're going to go ahead and build our bigger box. All right. So now we have our larger box made, and that middle board did turn out to be 18 inches long. If I didn't say that earlier, those bottom boards here are 18 inches. So from the outside edge to outside edge is 18. 4 1/2, these are 4 7/8. Okay. So again, 18 inches wide on these. And I have gone ahead and cleaned up our glue squeeze out on both of these boxes. Now, these boxes do need a cleat that will go on the back of these boxes that will hold them onto our frame. So that will be the next thing we will add to these boxes, and then these boxes will be complete until they're dry, and then they'll be ready to go. So back over here, our cleat is going to be 18 inches by 2.5. And then this one here is going to be 16.5 by 2.5. Now maybe I can show you where that cleat is going to come into play here. Let me find the right page. And the cleat that we're talking about is this cleat right here. So there's our box, and then we're going to add this cleat, and it's going to have a 30-degree bevel on the front because these boxes sit on our display at a 30-degree angle. Okay, so we're going to 2.5 inches wide, 30 degrees. I'll show you how we're going to set all that up. So let me go ahead and get the pieces cut, and then I'll show you exactly how they're going to work. So I have two boards here. Now this was actually some scrap that was left over when we ripped our sides for our boxes. This is what was left over. And this just happens to be wide enough for what we need it for. So we have a 16.5 inch piece and we have an 18 inch piece. And then what I've done here is I've adjusted my blade angle on my table saw to 30 degrees. And then I've measured over from my fence to my sawtooth 2.5 inches. So now I can go ahead and rip my boards and rip that 30-degree angle along that whole edge. So there that cleat is on, just sitting on my bottom box, but you can see it's flush out here, flush to the edge. Just make sure that your miter is kind of facing, what I would call facing down, okay? So just make sure that looks the same on both. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put some glue, we're going to put some staples, and then I will come back at the end, put some 1-inch screws just to secure that real well, okay? So I'm going to do that for both of our boxes, add that cleat. So now you can see we've added our wood glue, we've added a few staples just to hold the cleat into place. We've done that on our bottom box and our upper box as well. I did want to just show you real quick how the upper smaller box will nest inside our bigger box. So if you wanted this all to collapse down as flat as possible, because we made this box just a little bit smaller, it does fit inside of our bigger box for easy transport. Something we could do if we wanted to, we could add some cutout handles on the sides of these boxes. Now this particular customer didn't order that, so we're not going to do that, but that would be one thing you could add, is some cutout handles to hold the boxes a little bit easier. So now we have to switch our focus to making our frame. So we'll go ahead and cut the boards for our frame, and we'll talk about that. All right, so I have all of our parts cut for our frame. I did make a mistake, and I want to show you the mistake so you don't do the same thing I did. And I'll even tell you how I fixed my mistake. So, first of all, we needed two pieces that were 21 inches long that have that same 30-degree bevel like we did for our cleats over there. So I have that already put on here, 30-degree bevel, 21 inches long. And then we need a 3.5 inch piece that's 21 inches long. And then we need a 2.5 inch piece that is 21 inches long. Now, if you refer to the plans, you see this 5.5 inch piece, this 5.5 inch piece. See that bevel? There's your 2.5 inch piece. And it's not showing on here, but there's that 3.5 inch piece. I'm not sure why I didn't put it there, but there's a 3.5 inch piece on the front. Okay, now keep in mind of this detail here, this is where I screwed up. All right, so these two pieces are 19 3/4, and those pieces are these right here, those little cleats on the front here. Okay, 19 3/4, 2.5 inch wide. These are 3.5 inch wide, 35 inches long. That is going to be our back leg. Okay, now our front leg, the total length that we need to cut is 43 inches. Says so right there. Okay, 43 inches. And then you can see we're supposed to have a 25-degree cut here. And up here, we don't give you the angle, but we give you some dimensions. Now, this is where I screwed up. I put a 25-degree on both sides here, okay? And I really wasn't supposed to do that. That 25-degree was only supposed to be on one side. So I made this little template, okay? So first of all, I'm going to orient this board the way it is here in the drawing. So the angle matches. And then my template is going to go right here on the point, okay? And I believe from here to here, 7.5 inches. But I'm going to put my template there. I'm going to make a little pencil mark, and then I'm going to cut this angle because that's what it's really supposed to be, is this. And like I say, I screwed up. I didn't make it correct. And you'll notice that really this is supposed to extend just a little bit more, and it doesn't, okay? And it's not going to really matter for this particular purpose because we're going to cut this back off of here, okay? So anyhow, I know that's terribly confusing, but if you just cut it to 43, have this end be square, and then follow these dimensions, then you'll be golden, and you won't need this template. The only reason I needed that template is because I screwed up. Okay. So I hope that's clear as mud. But we're gonna go ahead and get our front two legs cut properly, and then we'll go ahead and start putting this together. All right, so I did manage to get my front legs cut the way they're supposed to be. And I want to, this is a part is a little bit complicated, not terribly though. Okay, so I've oriented my front leg like so, and this is the outside leg. This will be what I consider the front leg, okay? The back leg. So you see here, this leg and this leg, okay? So this is gonna fold up just like you see it here, but what we've done is we've come from the tip down 4 inches, and that's where we place this board, okay? Then what we've done is we followed the plans, 1 3/4 and 3 7/8. Using my Craig Multi-Mark, nice handy little tool for this, we found that center point that we're talking about over here in our plans. Now, it's difficult to see in the print, but there's a hole there, okay? And what we're gonna do, because I don't have the appropriate bolt, what we would normally do is use a carriage bolt. We're going to use a 2-inch carriage bolt is what you're going to want to get. 1/4 inch. So a 1/4 inch by 2 inch. And then you want to get a 1/4 inch stop nut and a washer for the back side. So temporarily, we're just going to put this together temporarily with just a regular plain old screw. So I might just kind of like move this out a little bit so I can drive a screw straight down. So make sure we're still at 4 inches there, which we are. We'll drive a screw straight down, and we'll use it just a regular screw temporarily. And then when next time I go to the hardware store, I'll grab me a bolt to bolt that together like it's supposed to be, okay? So, and then obviously we have to do the same thing to the other side. So we're gonna have a right and a left side to this, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and put in my screw, go ahead and assemble my other side, put a screw in it as well, and then we can utilize all these dimensions to put the boards on the back, the outside and inside legs, if you will, okay? So this will all make more sense as we go. So let me get the screw put in. We've got these lined up perfectly. We've got it 4 inches off the bottom here. So when we pull this out, it's gonna lay perfectly flat, okay? So let me go ahead and get some of this done, and then we'll take another look. So let me bring you up to speed what we've done here. We've used some wood glue, and we've attached our 21-inch piece that's 3.5 inches wide to the outside legs. And then we've attached our 19 3/4 pieces according to our diagram. So from the bottom of our foot here, we measured up this 3 1/4 to that top cleat, and then the 23 7/8 to the top of this cleat. So we look at it from here. So up from here, 3 1/4 from here, all the way to here to that 23 7/8. Okay, now we have to flip the unit over, put in our 21-inch piece, that's 2.5, and then our two 5.5 pieces using 13 5/8 and the 25 7/8. Okay, so that I'll go ahead and do that and then show you what that looks like. Right, so that's basically it for the construction process. A few things to keep in mind. Make sure that we're 13 5/8 from this leg, not over here, this leg up. And that 13 5/8, as you can see, is to the tip of that bevel. And look at the profile. We want to make sure that that 5.5-inch board is put on that leg in that orientation. Okay, so you can see, again, the point and our tick mark. Okay, now I've just used wood glue and 1 1/4 staples. I do plan to come back. I'm gonna go get some long skinny wood screws for some added stability. These screws that I have, they're not very long, first of all, but they're kind of thick, and I feel like as thin as our fence picket is, those won't do well. So I'm gonna get some regular wood screws and put those in, but the glue will also help keep everything together. Now I did use quite a bit of glue, so I'm gonna set this up as it would be, and then make sure I wipe down any glue squeeze out over the whole unit. And of course, tomorrow when it dries, we'll come back in and give everything a nice sand. So let me get it set up and I'll show you what it looks like, the finished product here. Now I don't have my boxes in yet, but I did just want to kind of show you basically what it looks like. And it looks like it's going to do what we need to do. Now, I do have one concern right off, and that's the angle that this one is compared to this one. So I don't really know what we did there exactly. We'll have to figure that out. All right, so I wanted to show you before I put the boxes in. I made a mistake, which happens, and talk just about a couple things. So I've gone ahead and it's standing upright like it's supposed to now. This back leg nice and vertical. Our front leg obviously nice and flat on the ground. And right here, this trim piece helps stop these legs. These legs cannot go any more forward, which that part's nice, but this design as it sits can still collapse in. And I haven't really come up with a nifty way to have it set up where that doesn't happen. So I've still got to put my thinking cap on, because I would like a way to spread this out so it cannot collapse. But it's not a big deal, but it's just something I've got in the back of my mind that I would like to fix. Now, where did I make my mistake? Earlier when I was putting on this front board on those inside legs, I said from the tip of the leg up would be 23 7/8. And that is, in fact, what the plans say currently. But somehow, somewhere along the way, I don't know where, from the 3D model to the 2D drawing, I messed up. And I moved this board for whatever reason in the 3D model. I'm not sure why I moved it, but that did not get translated to the 2D drawing. So, or vice versa. Normally I do the 2D drawing first and then I'll do the 3D model. So at any rate, this board was too high. Now that board is at 21 3/4 instead of 23 7/8. to this top edge from the tip of my leg. Now I haven't tried it yet, but let me just go ahead and grab my boxes here, and we will, I usually put the boxes in from the front. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, but what I want to show you here is how those cleats work. So you see, because we got everything perfectly dialed in, those cleats should sit nice and flush, and then we have that other bevel that should sit nice and flush to the bottom of our box. So we know that this is at the right height because of what that looks like, and it's hitting down here. So everything, that is that perfect angle that we're looking for. Now, the top box was way off, and so I knew something was amiss. So now, let's see if my new dimensions are correct. So now, when we look at it, you can see even that, I mean, there's a tiny gap there, but that's not too significant. And when you're looking at the angle of the boxes from the side, they are, for all intents and purposes, both at that same angle. Okay? So there it is, guys. We made it through. And like I say, I am gonna go to the hardware store. We need to put in our carriage bolt, our 1/4-inch carriage bolt. We're gonna come from the outside, put our lock nut on the inside there, and then possibly figure out a way where this cannot collapse. That's a possibility. Like I said, I haven't really thought of a way to do that just yet, but that's something I'm thinking about. And then that's pretty much it for this one. So I hope you enjoyed following along. Like I said, it is a little bit more of a difficult project because, you know, there's just a lot of pieces and parts. I'll give everything a real nice sand tomorrow, get everything ready to go. Now I have one more to build just like it. But I will tell you this, the next one will be a lot easier for sure. And you can see that this top piece, we made it 2.5. It could have been 3.5, just like the front one was. The reason I made it 2.5 is because I could get 2 boards out of 1 stick. If it was 3.5, obviously I can't get 2 3.5s out of a 5.5-inch stick of wood. So that's why I use that 2.5 dimension quite a bit when I'm doing things. And I did these 5.5, even though you wouldn't really need to, but that will add a lot of stability. We've got a lot more glue and more staples than if we just had a little 2.5-inch strip. So that's why I feel like those really add quite a bit more stability. I don't know if it really matters to you or not, but this was designed in a way that allowed us to nest all of these boxes inside our main legs. So we could, you know, if you had several, the individual who's using these boxes, they're selling honey and jam is what they're going to use these for. So they have these little jars that they're going to be putting in here. So the cleat end on our big box has to go to the bottom, and then the cleat end on our little box has to come from the top. And then that will, like I said, it all sits inside our leg assembly for the smallest height dimension that we can get for this particular setup. And of course, because it's all basically integrated, you know, you can pick it up as one unit now and be able to carry it, you know, to your event or whatever, all as one unit. So that's another nice feature as well. You don't have individual pieces. Okay, so that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one and be looking for the next one. And if you would, give us a like and subscribe. It does really help us out. We need to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're not there yet. But if we get to 1,000 subscribers, then I can commit to making a lot more of these types of videos, because maybe I'll make a little bit of money from YouTube. Thanks for watching. So there is your finished tabletop display. And again, my customer is using this for jelly and honey that they make. Obviously, they don't make the honey, but they make the jelly. And so there it is, all staged up, ready to go.